Hi everyone, my name's Christina and it's time for truth. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about lots of things, some sad things, but some happy things too. And this is a little refrigerator magnet that my mom gave me. I like it a lot. To the world you may be one person, but to one person you may be the world. And I think all of us should remember that. My mom and I were tight. So anyway, welcome back to my channel. Today is Tuesday. I'm still talking about things that went on with my mom after she passed away in Utah. So if anybody's feeling sad about things or don't want to hear about family distress and legal issues and things like that, then, beg out now because that's what this is going to be about. The latest news on Mrs. Nancy Guthrie is no news. They still don't know where she is. It's very distressing. I most oftentimes can say I can't even imagine, but in this instance, I can't imagine because my mom was missing and I didn't know where she was. It was a completely different situation, but it still involved me not knowing where my mom was, and she was not well. So today I'm going to be continuing my conversation about the Logan, Utah legal community. And how I had been, I'd retained one lawyer, she went south, I found another lawyer, paid him a retainer, provided him with information, he went south. That's too much. Like, I'm the sole heir of a will. I'm the named executrix in the will. At this juncture, the will is not contested. But anyways, this guy couldn't handle it, so Utah, weak men. Some of them anyway. So then I found this next lawyer after calling all over the state of Utah because I know I'm not going to go there for any of these hearings. They're all going to be done because COVID was coming up at this point in 2020. And I knew that anything that I was going to be doing there was going to be done by Zoom hearing or whatever else, just by virtue of proximity. And so... nice little fresca today, straight out of the bottle. So I had been calling all these law firms before my mom died and now since she's passed. I called the law offices of Byington and Goebel. Sam Goebel is who I was assigned. I never talked to Erin Byington. I have no idea if she even exists. She never responded to the portal messages or the email messages that I sent when Sam wasn't doing his job. So at any rate, I was assigned to Sam Goebel by one of these workers, if even though Tiffany, I think her name was. Yeah. I said, this is serious, things are happening, I need help. I just been terminated by Ashley Bowen over at, so I've already got like a bad rap apparently. Then I get assigned this Sam Goebel. He's a criminal defense lawyer. That's who my mother's caregiver is now calling. Criminal defense lawyers. Because of what's happened to my mother and the accusations that have been leveled against me by my estranged siblings. Pam, Jim, and Dave. I told them that I would like to do alternative resolution. Let's keep this out of the courts. Let's try and settle this thing. The evidence is clear. I have the documents. I have the history. And they didn't want to hear that. And I was put off here too. I told Sam Goebel on more than one occasion, dude, you've got to pay attention. You have got to listen. You need to do these things. This is serious. By then, the Alan A. Anderson letter had come out implicating me as having absconded with large sums of money. That was what was in his letter, that my siblings then submitted to the court through their illegitimate lawyer who produced the fraudulent power of attorney over my mother, naming my sister. How convenient to walk into a law office and name your own self. Anyway, when Bretton Hadfield who's no longer a partner in his own law firm, when he filed a motion for partial summary judgment regarding ownership of the joint account. This was in August of 2020. I told my lawyer, I said, dude, you need to respond to this. This is serious. Bretton Hadfield alleged that that Janice had essentially escaped the care of her daughter, Miss Taylor Bird. That objection detailed coordinated efforts between Janice's sister and the Pratts to help Janice and see that she was receiving adequate and sufficient care. So they acknowledged right there that they all interfered. And then, because my lawyer wasn't doing his job, the opposing counsel is able to say that there's been the passage of time and the opportunity to dispute the things that they've alleged against me, including Alan A. Anderson's letter, and multiple requests by counsel for the Pratts for my counsel, to provide contradictory information. And it wasn't, because my lawyer was just sitting on his thumb, spinning around in his chair, not doing his job, and blowing me off. So this request for summary judgment said that there's no genuine issues of material fact. The joint account held by Janice and Pamela now belongs to Pamela in accordance with Utah law. And here's the other part of the motion for summary judgment. Further, the account was not established with the assistance of a power of attorney. So they're saying that my mom is competent. Janice has been determined by Dr. Alan A. Anderson on June 28th that she does maintain the capability to designate a power of attorney, which certainly would indicate that she also had the capability to establish the account less than a month later. So this again is where Susan Seidel Tillman and Alan A. Anderson committed elder abuse against my mother. They committed the financial fraud that they were accusing me of. They allowed it to happen. And Alan A. Anderson putting that 2017 date on the letter, that had to be all attorney's fees to fix that, because he misdated the letter, and I'm going to say, in my opinion, intentionally, to throw a wrench into the dates, because all this happened in 2018, not 2017. And then Bretton Hadfield says, regardless, it's now impossible to go back in time. Any surmising as to Janice's mental capacity or mental state would be nothing more than that, surmising. It is inappropriate at this late stage to enter into guesswork or prognostication. And why did it take so long? Because I was bounced around first by Ashley Bowen, who fired me when I questioned her after they'd cached my emails into their server for 2 weeks, ignoring me while Pam's running around doing all the things she thinks she's entitled to do about my mother, while my mother's laying dead in Utah. The law in Utah with regard to ownership of a joint account upon the death of one party is certain, and Pam knew that. So they requested that the court make a determination that they have all of it, that Pam, so that she can then, split it up with her brothers, the three of them, and then give whoever else a cut, allegedly. And then Bretton Hadfield, here's who he served it to. He served it to, not my lawyer. I never heard from that lawyer right there, Aaron Byington. My lawyer, Sam Goebel. And then he did it to these people. My mother's sister, who interfered in the first place. I think Stephanie was involved with the absconding of my mother. And this man, Ronald Wimbish, he's dead. That was my uncle. My mom was calling him. My mom was calling him when she was going to the daycare, adult center for activities. She said, I don't know. Everything's just I don't know what to say, Ronnie. And then he calls me. He's like, is your mom okay? And I'm like, no, she's not okay. So, of course, I told people, because why wouldn't I tell people? I thought they cared. But no, they had intentions that were evil. And they acted on them. And they injured and took my mom. So this was Bretton Hadfield, who produced the improper power of attorney in the first place. And here he is. Interested parties, children and potential heirs. Now, they've never contested the will. The will disinherits these three estranged, lying adult kids by name for reasons that are well known to them, that they acted retarded, that they don't know. Interested parties and potential heirs. Jim Pratt, David Pratt, and Pamela Pratt. The Pratts. So they figured out all of their who's going to be represented by who. They just stayed with the first lawyer that produced the improper power of attorney, naming Pam, that called me some random person in Maryland, that called me a vexatious litigant, that caused harm to my mother by giving those who hated their mother the legal control over her. Yep, so this is what he did. He filed for that. I told my lawyer, I said, Sam, you better get on it, bud. My husband and I were getting ready to head out. We were actually, we stopped what we were doing. We stopped what we were doing so that we could speak on the phone about this. And I told Sam Goebel exactly what I needed to have done in answer to this. In answer to Alan A. Anderson's false allegations. But he hadn't done his work at this point, at this late date. And opposing counsel calls him out on it. Rightfully so. To Bretton's, benefit. Yeah. My lawyer sat on his ass. Took a $10,000 retainer and sat on his ass. Even though I was kicking him in his ass. And Erin Byington, I don't even know if she exists. And then their little people at their office, the little bitches, little office staff. I'm the client. But you have to be nice to these people. You have to pay them money and be nice to them, even when they don't do their job. Even when you're asking nicely. Even when you get mad. And then when you look at their bill, God forbid you should question their bill. Oh, but I do, because it's my money. And the work's not being done. Where's the work? I see a billing for it. Where's the work? Where's the result? So anyways, the hearing was an absolute flipping nightmare. I got myself ready for it. I presented myself for court for each of these hearings. I respectfully attended the hearings. I respectfully respected the court. I tried to get my lawyer to do the things. It was not my fault that he was not doing the things. I'm in Delaware. He's in Utah. I got the bar involved. I called Janine, whatever her name is. It's all in these notes. Janine Timothy. That's what her name was. Call the bar. Help me. What's going on? This is insane. Please. So anyways, here's the findings of fact and order on October 21, 2020. That's how long this went on. So my mom's been dead not quite a year. And I still don't have her urns. They got 4 urns. They didn't send me her property. They kept it all, along with the bank account proceeds, claiming it as their own, acting like I didn't exist and wasn't going to have anything to say about it, like they're retarded. So the matter came before the court on the Pratt's motion for partial summary judgment regarding ownership of the joint account. How simple, I mean, it can't be any more clear than that. I told my lawyer, they're going for the whole thing, so you better respond to this. And did he respond? He did not respond. And then he acted surprised when the lawyer was yelling, or when the judge was yelling at him and calling out the wrong name of who's going to be the PR, personal representative. My 3 siblings never contested the will. They never contested the contents of the will, that they were actually disinherited. They just said, we don't care about that. We got the money. We joint tenancy the account. It's ours. Oh, and we'll keep everything else if we want it. The matter was fully briefed and a hearing was held. Breton Hadfield was present on behalf of Jim, David, and Pamela, the Pratts. Samuel Goebel was present on behalf of the petitioner, me. The court finds Janice was brought to Utah and died on December 27, 2019. The court finds a general power of attorney was signed and notarized by Janice on July 20th, 2018. The court finds 17 months Pamela conducted Janice Pratt's affairs with no complaints of wrongdoing. Now, how is that possible? Why would there be no complaints of wrongdoing? Didn't they talk to Legacy House of Logan? How come my lawyer didn't defend me in that? He didn't. No, the records were in there that I was shut out from Legacy House of Logan. The lawyer put in the documents that he did file on my behalf about that. So the judge knew. He knew that my mom suffered. He knew she wasn't in her right mind. And you know what the judge's response to that was in one hearing? Well, they have good days and they have bad days. So she did all these things on a good day. Is that right, Judge? Thomas L. Wilmore? I have more to say about you and what my lawyer told me about you. And that people were already appealing your decisions because they were so outrageous. Judge Thomas L. Wilmore, already retired, referring to me as a criminal based on Alan A. Anderson's lies, based on Susan Seidel Tillman in Maryland, furthering evil. That's what Susan Seidel Tillman did. She thought she had a big case of elder abuse. $400,000. She stole it. So there were no complaints of wrongdoing according to the court. The court finds, based upon the general power of attorney and joint account, there has not been one complaint of wrongdoing on Janice Pratt's behalf from me or anyone else. When you shut people out and they don't know what's going on, case in point was that my godmother, my aunt, my father's sister, who my mother was close to, also sent things and never got a response. So if a person isn't allowed to have contact with anybody, how can any complaint be made? But the court's stupid. Judge Thomas L. Wilmore, retarded. The court finds Dr. Alan A. Anderson is a reliable expert. They used him as an expert witness. The man was never called to testify. Only his letter was used. He is a medical doctor specializing in geriatric and forensic psychiatry. Spelled wrong, psychiatry. Even I know, I've been in some psychiatric hospitals. I know how to spell psychiatry. Breton. The court places great weight on Dr. Anderson's report, dated, here we go again with that date, 2017. You see that? Fraud, lies. That letter was written in 2018. Dr. Anderson states that Janice was competent to understand what a power of attorney was and signed the power of attorney on June 28th. Then they get the date right, 2018. That's Breton Hadfield writing this. Wonder where Breton is. Wonder if he caught any NFTs yet. Wonder if he's got a crypto account. He's no longer a partner in his law firm, that I know. Dr. Anderson states it's his opinion with a reasonable degree of medical certainty. They just cut and pasted what Dr. Anderson said. It's unbelievable. And here's what he says. Again, this is how Pamela Pratt's lies, the lies of my 3 siblings, were taken to Salisbury, Maryland, conveyed to whoever, over to Susan Seidel Tillman, who then sent the lies over to Alan A. Anderson, who then wrote a letter that my siblings then took to Utah, tried to get a protection from abuse order from me, failed, probably told the facility that they had it, allegedly, in my opinion, based upon my conclusions and evidence. This is what the court, this is the transcript. This is just the overview. So imagine how the actual hearing went. Oh, and I wanted to say too, that white stuff that I sometimes get on my mouth, I'm sorry, it's very unappealing, and I apologize for that. Among my many other afflictions, I have a condition called Sjogren's. Who heard of that? You know, I get the weirdest things. Anyways, it's a part of the lupus autoimmune disorder that I have. So Sjogren's is spelled Sjogren's. Completely dries you out. Dry skin, dry teeth, dry hair, dry eyes. Like the ophthalmologist people, I have to warn them. My eye pressure is high, so don't freak out, because of course that happened. She went running out of the room, and then 5 doctors are running in. My eye pressure is at 32 or whatever. Anyways, so I have all these issues associated with the disease of lupus, and Sjogren's is one of them. So I get dry mouth. So forgive me when that happens. I try and keep control of it, but I'm talking a lot too. So 21 minutes of talking. So yeah, with the Sjogren's, that's why I'm missing teeth over here, because in anticipation of radiology for breast cancer, I needed to have a tooth pulled, but then the dentist broke the adjoining tooth. I had planned on just letting that one tooth be because I have a missing tooth over here, and everything's all dried out in my mouth. So no matter what I do to maintain my mouth, it's going to get worse because of this condition, Sjogren's. So anyways, a little background on me and why that happened. So back to the findings of fact. Here's what Dr. Alan Anderson said about me, that the court then took as the word of God in their findings of fact. Dr. Anderson was never called to testify in these proceedings. I wanted him to. I chased him down to Tucson, Arizona. I said, you need to step up. You think he would? Absolutely not. Nope. He's over there at the Banner Alzheimer's Institute, and I let them know what had gone on in Cambridge, Maryland, with Susan Seidel-Tillman and him. Here's what they said. He further states that there appears to be undue influence and potential elder abuse by her daughter, and names me. This is just the written account. The hearing was insane. And I'm sure my siblings were laughing their asses off, thinking, wow, we really got away with this. And they did. They did. The court finds that Janice created a joint bank account with her money. The court finds that Janice is the owner and Pamela is the joint owner. Thieving, disinherited Pam. Joint tenancy to her mother's bank account. Hadn't talked to her mother in decades. Disinvited her to her wedding. The court finds that Janice was competent. Now the court can find competency. Just randomly, out of thin air. My lawyer's texting me at this point to stay calm. I'm asking him what in the living hell is going on. The court finds that opening the joint bank account was not against Janice's best interest. In fact, it furthers her best interests. The court finds there was no argument and nothing was submitted to the court that says monies were improperly used. The court finds there's no conflict of interests. Pam did not impair Janice's best interest. However, it's quite contrary that Christina may have. Or there are assertions that monies were being used improperly by me. This is what they wrote. This is what went on in the hearing. And my lawyer's sitting there like a turd, not even saying, drinking out of a big mug. So unprofessional. Lord have mercy. I went to the Washington School for Secretaries. I grew up in the era of, you present yourself well. I get dressed for these little presentations because I was taught to present yourself well, as to your best of your, I have missing teeth, to the best of your ability. But here, this is what they do. Drink it out of a mug while the judge is handing down ridiculous statements. Kick back in the chair. I mean, the presentation in these Zoom meetings by these professionals were an embarrassment to the legal community, and the bar should be ashamed. That includes my lawyer, turd, sitting there acting like he's all afraid of Breton Hadfield. Weak man, Sam Goebel, weak. He later told me, when I questioned him about the fraudulent attorney's fees that he was tacking on, oh, well, I can't give you anything. You're taking food out of the mouths of my employees' children. That's what he said to me. That would be taking food out of the mouths of my employees' children. I think everybody's fed well. Fat bitches. And I can say that because I used to be a fat bitch. And then I got healthy and sober. And now I hold a grudge. And I'm going to talk about it. So they continue on that yada, yada, yada. The court places great weight that the agent acted in good faith. Pamela Pratt is not liable for any beneficiary, which would be me, for the failure of anything that was set forth in the will. The will just doesn't mean anything. There is no evidence of undue influence. She just put her mom on a plane from Maryland, straight out of a memory care unit, lied, telling the facility that she had minor dementia, which the facility knew better, but they didn't want to hear it from the person who knew. They were going to stick her in an alcove, going to keep an eye on her in an alcove. How'd that work out, Legacy House of Logan? Robin Goody, how'd that work out? No, she was in the cottage in a snap because she was not well. Good days and bad days. Thomas Wilmore. Okay, so the court finds that Pamela Pratt was acting for the best interest of Janice. No arguments. What was done? How can you make an argument when you don't know what's being done, when you're shut out? There's no conflicting interest. The court finds that the survivorship belongs to the surviving joint party, which is Pamela Pratt. She got it all. Cleaned out the account and kept it. The court finds there's no clear and convincing evidence at the time the account was created, no proof whatsoever that Pamela Pratt was aware of Janice Pratt's existing will. Oh, yes, she was, because Susan Seidel Tillman knew and Carol knew. They all knew she had a will, and they knew that they were disinherited because I didn't tell them, but I told Susan Seidel Tillman. So that was granted. And then my attorney was crying to me. Oh, I don't know what happened. I don't understand it. I just don't know. I'm going to have to talk to some people. What? I started reading about the Mormons, particularly the men, because they're weak. The ones that I had encountered thus far. Let me quantify that. Under the banner of heaven. No man knows my history. The Mountain Meadows Massacre. These are all books that I read. The Blood of the Prophets. Because I needed to understand what was happening and why I was being treated the way that I was being treated by the men in Utah. Especially that judge. He pissed me off. Anyways. So now, of course, my lawyer should have known that he's fired. He never communicated with me after we had that discussion after this motion for partial summary judgment. When I told him we were getting ready, my husband and I were getting ready to leave. We sat out there in the driveway to talk to this man. And I told him, I said, dude, these are the things that you have to do. Yeah, I know. I said, you didn't get the documents that I've asked you to get. And now here we are. Where's the beef? And he failed to do his job. And then he acted surprised when the judge was yelling at him too. Can you imagine what that's like in a probate hearing? When my mother's best friend, her legal power of attorney, her sole heir, and her named PR, personal representative. And I'm being berated, diminished, accused of being a criminal in a probate hearing. So, my lawyer called me right away. Oh, I'm gonna, I don't know what happened. Making all these excuses. Sam Goebel. Complete loser. Liar. Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Oh, I just can't understand why it's not. I was looking at the other cases he was handling. He was defending child rapists. This is the kind of legal counsel I had. A loser. A complete loser. I looked just like I looked to see what my father was doing during this time when all this was going on. I looked to see what Sam Goebel's cases were. What an embarrassment. But I'd gone all over Utah trying to find legal counsel, and that's what I was subjected to. Here's what he says to me on Friday, October 23rd. What am I at, 31 minutes? I'm going to start the next. I'm going to go ahead and just end this one at this point. Just to say that this man continued to bill me. Sam Goebel continued to send me a bill up until 2025 when I filed another complaint with the bar. So if he would have told me, oh, there's an outstanding balance, you got to pay that before, the next hearing, the final summary judgment, whatever the next hearing, like I would have disputed it at that time. But he never even said that there was any kind of a balance, and he didn't do his work. And then he started sending me a bill for $10,000, as if I owe him $10,000 for losing the probate matter when I'm the sole heir in the will. That's an amazing feat. That is an amazing accomplishment. How in the world do you lose your clients when they're the sole heir of an uncontested will? He couldn't answer that question. He just made excuses. And that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk about all the excuses he made instead of doing his work. Sam Goebel, Byington and Goebel. And I believe that Aaron Byington exists somewhere because there was some kind of a call for the public to give feedback on her for the Chancery Court and something or another. Oh, so I gave feedback, all right. I hold a grudge. I look to see what's happening. After what they put me through, there's still more to come. A lot more. And I'm going to tell it all. But at this point, I'm devastated. I cannot even believe what has happened. And I have no place to turn other than trying to find another lawyer. Can you imagine? Like, after all the videos that I've expressed how I've been calling around, trying to get help, telling the truth, documenting, like these are actual things that I can provide backup for. I'm not just making these things up out of thin air. Lies like my siblings did. Harmful, devastating lies that caused the death of their mother in a state where she'd never lived, knew no one, was dumped and abandoned by her 3 adult children. And then they stole her estate funds under joint tenancy, claiming they didn't know. Well, if you didn't know and then you find out, you give that shit back. That's what you do if you're a moral, right, upstanding human being. You don't keep it and then fight for it. Accusing me of stealing from my mother when you all actually did it. That's called Darvo. Look it up. DARVO. And I reject the evil. Susan Seidel Tillman, Pam Pratt, Jim Pratt, David Pratt, Alan A. Anderson, Legacy House of Logan, Robin Goody, Megan Seiler, J. Robb. These are all people I had to come into contact with who diminished me and injured my mom. We'll be talking more about it. Thanks for stopping by and listening. Take care of your loved ones. And don't be an evil person. Because it will be balanced. Those of us who have done bad things being a drunk and alcoholic, I didn't kill anybody. I didn't steal anybody who was sick and then abandon them. No. Not even in my addiction did I do that. But you all did it sober. Shame on you.